You are listening to episode 89 of The Bastards of Kingsgrave, the intersection of A Song of Ice and Fire and everything else. This is Amin, and I'm joined by our usual anime and manga group.
This is Bill.
This is Bing.
This is Zach, the resident noob of anime.
Well, what do we? W. It was the guy who we brought back from Dragon Ball, or you're worth bringing back with the Dragon Balls guy, right?
I'm Krillin.
Yeah, Krillin.
Yeah, I'm Krillin. I remember now.
If you're Krillin, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like the old Dragon Ball character that nobody remembers.
Yeah, I'm maybe.
Yeah, I would be young.
I guess. I don't know. I've never seen the original, so I don't even know the character.
Yeah. So we're back about a year later from our last anime manga corner. We typically do them. We try to do them at least once a year. So we kind of had like a summer episode and then a winter, but we kind of just skipped the summer and went straight to the winter. So this is basically a year since I last recorded. But I guess it kind of reflects that we haven't been watching or reading as much, but we have been doing some, so we got some things to talk about. But first, let's just talk about some news in general. So first, we have some bad news you guys wanted to talk about.
I mean, this happened back in May, so it's not much news anymore. But yeah, I think Kentaro Miura, the longtime mangaka of Berserk, passed away sadly back in May due to heart complications. People made fun of like, oh, he's not writing the manga because he's playing Idolmaster. But no, he was dealing with health issues. And well, there you go. No, incredibly sad. Whatever you want, we can talk about I know Zach, you just read all of Berserk this year. So
I read all of it.
Welcome to the fandom.
Jeez.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but like, this is a guy who he's been drawing Berserk since 1989.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is like the influence that he has on, especially on shonen and shonen manga is, I mean, you can. It's hard to measure like just how important this person is to the world of manga, and not just to the world of manga, because there's plenty of people outside of the world of manga who have gone on to done very important things. As the makers of the Bloodborne and those series, the From Software guys, what they think of Blitz Berserk. There are explicit references to Berserk in those games. And that's relevant to our podcast because they're going to make Elden Ring next with George R.R. Martin. This was an absolute like Titanic news in May. It was horrible news.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, this is the thing you dread, right? That the creator of something you love passes away, and it's obviously just sad that happened on the face of it, but also sad for him and for all the people who love this story that they won't get a conclusion to it that they maybe wanted. I think in this case, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but the impression probably was never going to be finished based on the pace it was at, the publishing pace it was at this point in time.
So the problem is like Miura died when so Miura was like 53, 54.
Yeah.
So that's pretty young, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So people think it's going to take a long, long time. It's just not.
Right. They still believed they would get the ending to the story, and of course they won't now, most likely. So that is sad.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, do you think that they're gonna try the end? Is someone else gonna try the end of the series for him? Like, I don't know how it works.
I don't know about legally. So right now it's up in the air. He has been. We know that he has been working with. He has been like blooding in assistants and having them do more of his basically drawing, line work and all that sort of stuff. And beginning to try to sort of introduce people who could possibly succeed him. Well, not necessarily succeed him, but just to do blending the next generation of people who will be as his students, as his disciples. But we don't know how much those people know about what his plans for the story going forward. I don't think there is like a George R.R. Martin scenario in which he has even laid out a plan that some people know about, or at least it's not something that has been
If anyone
publicized.
knows about it, I suspect it would be the editor. Just the way that it seems that,
Sure.
like the way that manga works. Like if anyone knows, I mean, we don't know if he actually knows. It depends on what kind of relationship they had, but they seem to really draw upon editors more than even in Western writings.
Yeah, but on the other hand, like even with Song of Ice and Fire, we sort of have an idea of where things are going, right? And then of course now we have the TV show, which take it or leave it, I guess. But Berserk is not even there yet. That's the issue.
It was Berserk.
Despite
Let's
the
say
fact
like
that-
was Berserk over the halfway point, or it was not even halfway. Over?
It's over the. I think it's over the halfway point,
I would say so too. Yeah.
but not how far it is over the halfway point is a huge, giant question.
Okay.
We
Right.
are also like to take giant tangents.
Yeah, it's the kind of story where it could plausibly go on for a very long time. Like there was no like clarity necessarily about where the ending was going to be. Like we didn't necessarily know like how close or how far we were, but like the impression I had. And so again, like I read this whole thing in the last few months after he died, which seems like a weird thing to do, probably, right? To choose to read a plausibly like unfinished series. But I, like you were saying earlier, Bing, I think it's clearly recognized as a seminal work in this industry and also outside of it. Like you were talking about, it's hugely influential across all kinds of different things. Like I would even go so far as to say that a lot of dark fantasy things in any medium probably had some level of influence from this, and that was something that I really appreciated reading about it. And I also just thought the journey itself was really, really satisfying. I thought the characters were much better than I expected, like given the cursory understanding I had of them before I had read it. And I think like in my head I've kind of like constructed how this works as an ending, you know, the kind of the necessary like practice you have to do when you know that you're not going to get like the full conclusion. And it works for me. Like I'm personally satisfied, but I definitely feel for the people who know that like the climactic conclusions that they've been waiting, I don't know what, like 30 plus years for at this point. In some cases they won't get it. So yeah, it sucks. And I think to an extent it probably should just end. Like I don't know, like I'm always skeptical of those projects where like someone else takes over and tries to carry the torch. And I think that's especially true here, where it's like so from one person's mind, even down to the art style. I don't know, maybe it could work, but I think I'm content with what we got. It's sad, but you know, I think it still certainly will be remembered as a huge important thing, and that's good in its own right.
I guess to just add to I guess selling the manga. I mean, it's weird to sell Berserk, right? So many people like this is the one manga series that like many non-anime fans just have read or watched, or at least know about, because you really don't have to be an anime fan at all or manga fan at all to enjoy this. And the thing is, like most anime and manga isn't like this. It's like I would say that in terms of like style, in terms of action, in terms of action scenes, a lot of these sort of things. There's a lot of anime and manga that takes influence from Berserk. But in terms of story, like there's nothing like this. But if you're interested in Song of Ice and Fire, I think Berserk is the closest that anime has gotten to a story that would appeal to somebody who's a fan of Song of Ice and Fire.
I'd agree with that as well. Yeah, I think there's a lot of parallels.
It's a lot more fantasy, but especially after where the original '90s anime ended. But
true,
you see a lot of very similar like things.
Yeah, I think it obviously it would be a daunting task to read all of this because it's I think 30, 40 volumes. That
on the other hand, it goes. It's like it's addicting, though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's hard to put down.
It's well paced. It's enjoyable. Like I said, like I think the characters are underrated relative to like what I've understood about them, and maybe that was just my perception of it. But I think it's very good. It's just the perfect kind of like adventure journey type of thing. So I think it's hard to recommend something that like won't have an ending, but I still would for sure.
Well, speaking of perfect adventure type stories, we have Yu-Gi-Oh! as well, which we talked about last time.
The perfect story.
Perfect. So
With other news we want to talk about is the special San Diego Comic-Con had a special edition in because the last one was online, which Zach and I attended via doing a podcasting panel for them, and so this one was in person. In fact, they invited an invitation to me to actually apply as a panelist the first time they sent it, so I think that's another good sign that we're getting contacts there. But I just wasn't able to do it with the situation now, and crossing the border is a huge pain, so I didn't go to the special edition. But one of the things that came out of it was an exclusive dual disc for Yu-Gi-Oh! The 25th anniversary. I saw that and I was like, I got to get my hands on this thing. And,
Hell yeah!
And we eventually, we kind of complained that we're hoping they put it online, and they did. They put it online, but very limited. But I was like, I'm probably the first person to buy it. I was ready and poised to buy when it first came out, and then it went out of stock really quickly. And it's being shipped to one of our listeners to keep it safe, and hopefully either ship to me or pick it up sometime, maybe at the next summer's Comic-Con. That's the hope, potentially, if we can go attend to do our podcasting panel in person.
You should do a cosplay with it.
Yeah.
Who would you pick out of the Yu-Gi-Oh characters?
Who would I pick? That's a good question. Probably, I don't know. Probably Seto Kaiba's got a nice wardrobe and music.
I like it. He is truly iconic and always will be.
He doesn't get to cheat to get any card he wants. He actually have to play.
Yeah, he just cheats by risking his life so that he can win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm just happy for you. I'm just happy because I had one of these things when I was a kid, probably not as quality one, but I would act out duels with it. I would actually duel with it, and it was a fond memory. I will always love Yu-Gi-Oh, so I'm really happy that you're gonna keep the torch alive with that.
Yeah, and although it seems that this one is exclusive to the convention, but it also seems to suggest either this one or an equivalent version may be sold in stores. So we'll have to see, because Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of having a second win in the last couple of years. It's been pretty popular.
Maybe we should duel when next we meet.
We could duel at Comic-Con. Let's do it. We can.
I would love to.
I have to. But all my partners' cards are sleeved, heavily sleeved. They're valuable ones, so I'll have to have them sleeved, I guess, unlike the people in the show who just slap down there's only 3 of this card in the whole world. Let's just play without sleeves.
Yeah, they use them as weapons and all this stuff. Yeah. Not PSA 10, whatever.
And in terms of the Yu-Gi-Oh watch, finished all of the main Yu-Gi-Oh. Watched Yu-Gi-Oh GX. Did you ever watch that, Zach?
Yeah, I watched GX, not all of it. The first 4 seasons. I don't know.
There only was 4 seasons actually, but
okay.
the fourth season was only in Japanese. I don't think they ever did it in English.
That might be what I didn't see then, because I only.
It turns super dark later. In English, it's like this happy-go-lucky guy, and if Yugi was kind of all about his friends, Jaden was just I like dueling, but for fun. He was very go-happy. But in the 4th season, it gets really dark. It's let's go. Even
talk about a cheater, dude.
Yeah,
what a cheater Jaden was. Yeah, that's about as far as I got with the Yu-Gi-Oh. Franchise. I stopped with GX. I have not watched anything, or that's basically when I stopped playing.
We moved on to the next one. I'm trying to remember the name of it actually. 5GX. Yeah, my partner's saying 5GX. Yeah, that one's actually interesting because they actually make it even darker. It's I guess they were thinking the people who watched it as kids became teenagers. We need to make it darker here, or young adults.
Yes. Where's the super adult now version of Yu-Gi-Oh? I need that.
Yeah, right. I think they regressed. They did the thing that with Pokemon is they thought, everybody moved on. Let's just make a new generation of kids stuff, right? What they should make is a Berserk of Yu-Gi-Oh or something
Berserk of Yu-Gi-Oh.
I don't know about that.
It's terrifying.
A crossover, and then they'll have the insane hair, but they'll kill people with their hair or something like that. I don't know. It's insane. But yeah, that's it on the Yu-Gi-Oh watch. But yeah, that's it on the news. Something we talked about last time was Demon Slayer. At that time, I had not seen or read anything about it, but I have seen the full season 1, and I saw Mugen Train. Did you guys all see Mugen Train, the movie? I'm guessing you did, or?
That's the movie.
I watched
I have actually not.
Oh, you have not?
I read the manga. I read the entire manga.
Oh, you read the manga. Okay.
Oh.
Although I think they expand a little bit more in the I read the manga as well. I don't really intend to talk about manga. I think we can talk about season 1 just generally. I don't even really want to necessarily spoil anything other than just to add to what
That's
you guys
fine.
say. It's just worth watching.
That's fine. We don't have to go.
Exactly. We don't have to go details because I want people to enjoy the experience of seeing it unspoiled, and I can say that season 1 essentially of Demon Slayer is, first of all, like the guys who made, is it UFO Table that made it? Like
Yeah.
They're the guys that we needed for the season
Tax
2 of
evaders.
we needed the season 2 of One Punch Man. Those guys they need to get them to do we need them for season 3 of One Punch Man. Like the
really?
animation quality is very good. And
yeah, I was making a joke because the person who found out UFO Table was arrested for tax evasion.
Oh really?
A few months ago.
He obviously was being paid a lot then if he's doing tax evasion, right? You don't.
Good point.
We powered through the neck and on Netflix, and it's just like it's one of those shows you can just literally power through. Like if you start watching, you better have your weekend free so you can just power through it, marathon it. I say it's good. It's worth seeing. Watch the next season. I don't want to get anything else other than the point that having read the entire works, I did think the end was a little bit fast, but we can talk about that another time. I think further on because I think there was reasons why I went there, but I still enjoyed it. So I guess Bing, you've read the manga, so I guess you don't necessarily have to see Mugen Train movie, but I thought it was still maybe watch Mugen Train the TV version because for some reason it seemed like it was even better animation on the TV. Was that just me? What do you think, Bill? Like, did you see both of them?
I never saw the movie, but I did watch the TV adaptation over the past week. And from the reading I've done, it sounds like they did go in and tweak some scenes, sort of like improve upon the movie, which is strange because usually it's the movie that improves upon the TV show.
Right.
They did add about one more episode of content to it, which I guess was the entirety of episode 1, which maybe explains why I thought episode 1 was kind of boring.
Oh, setup basically, yeah. Like, which the movie kind of just leads into it. This is like more here's how he got here to the train, right? Yeah.
Yeah. The movie itself was.
Sorry. I think the episode is entirely original, as in it was also in the manga or something.
No, but it's possible they might have consulted with the mangaka for some of the backstory there. Like I think they're pretty connected with her, but regardless, like it kind of just sets up a little bit of like how did this thing get into this place? Like it doesn't explain that in the movie; you just kind of just jump into the thing, right?
Right. Yeah. If you don't watch episode 1 of the TV, then it's like, well, how'd they all get here?
We're on a train now.
Yes, we're just suddenly on a train.
I've had it with these snakes on his train, or these whatever.
with these fleshy tentacles, intestine-looking things. Yeah. Actually, the new season starts tomorrow.
Tomorrow, as of our recording. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, looking forward to see it. Having still read it, I still want to see it in animated form, see what they do. So, good series, enjoyed it, and definitely recommendation. So we'll touch upon that again in future episodes as it kind of works its way through the anime.
I just want to emphasize that Kimetsu no Yaiba Demon Slayers right now represents like 80% of the anime industry, in terms of gross revenue. And probably 70% of the manga industry, just because it just ended. But yeah, no, this thing is like huge. But
tax evasion.
No, but tax evasion was the guy who was running the studio, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's
not the creator. Yeah, the creator is not tax evasion. Although the creator, I assume. I mean, I think mangakas aren't necessarily as well paid as we think they are, but you think that she would be still be well paid by this point, given the amount of.
I think so.
Chapters. I mean, so how many like millions and millions of volumes.
The interesting thing about Demon Slayer is that it ended pretty fast for a shonen show. I think there's going to be like maybe 2 more seasons of the anime, including the one.
Well, there was speculation that the reason why it ended quickly. I mean, I don't know if this is true at all. I haven't verified it. Was that the mangaka wanted to end it, obviously, if it was ended early, but. The reason was maybe she was looking to get married or something. Have you heard anything of that? Like she wanted to have more personal life.
I have not heard of this rumor.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true.
I think she
should have just bought a husband and then moved on and kept her.
I think she was a responsible writer who had an ending in mind when she started the story.
That's absurd. Why would you do that? You have so much money to make.
I think so, but I mean, I don't want to get into this episode. We'll get to another one because we'll give the people, the few that listen to this, a chance to actually read and watch it. But there's pluses and minuses on the ending. I certainly think I totally agree that. Well, we'll talk about this when we get to Attack on Titan to a sense. Although I don't think that was the problem with Attack on Titan. I actually think Attack on Titan did it. The length of Attack on Titan was actually okay because it milked it, but not to an insane amount. The ending just sucked generally, but it wasn't because of the length. It was like they didn't go forever with it. If you have something really good, do spend the time and do it. And I think that's what One Punch Man is doing. World build and enjoy it, and then end it without going too long. But they could have extended it more, but I don't think it was necessarily a trade-off of extending more and losing quality. I think some things were rushed, but I won't get into that other than to say that I think it was rushed, but I still enjoyed it. But anyway, can we move on to Attack on Titan then?
Sure.
We're talking about because it finally ended Attack on Titan, but it wasn't the fact that it went so long. Although going long became annoying because as a completionist, I wanted to keep reading it, but I didn't really enjoy it anymore. And honestly, like it's over now, and it was a while back since I read it. I'm just trying to remember like what the heck happened. Other than it was that scenario where Eren essentially was pretending to be the bad guy or something, or like had to do this. It was in a John no-win scenario, like from the podcast of episode. Was that the case? Like he had to do.
It's shockingly similar story to the Leadership of Rebellion.
I was just thinking that, having not watched this or read this.
And it just very generally, because I don't know how many people watch Code Geass, so I won't generally.
Wait, Code Geass? You saying it leads to Code Geass?
Yeah, Code Geass. It's the same ending as Code Geass.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So this guy just copied.
It's the exact same ending as Code Geass. And I don't think it's copying. No, I think it's just. I think it's boring. That's all.
Code Geass, and maybe into a sense, even well, no. What's that famous graphic now? Watchmen, right? Well, the Watchmen was smart enough to say this doesn't work. It shows it and then says this is how it doesn't work because it's already starting to fail, right? Like this scenario that he created. But this is like
I don't know what was the point of Eren doing what he did.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't understand the logic, internal logic, or external logic of most of the chapters past the when they. I feel like something was lost when it was no longer just when it became pseudo World War II.
The failure was always what's in that basement, and then they found what was in the basement of the map, and then once the map was shown, was the downhill of the series. After that, it just went downhill. Like the fact that it went from like this island, like, it was like almost the whole world to this just like a tiny little insignificant island of devils. Like that just ruined the whole story, I think.
So I actually remember the basement from what I've watched, a little I've watched of this. So do you think like there was no way to pay that off, like the anticipation of like what the secret was? Or
no, it's not. No, it's specifically what
they revealed. Okay, yeah. It's the fact that look, I don't think that there's all the far right stuff about. I don't think Isayama is a far right supremacist. I think he watches too much Western media and decided to throw things in. And that has always happened, and it was fine when things were more restricted. Things were just a small group of humans trapped inside walls fighting giant man-eating monsters. But when things get more complicated, I feel like his failures as a writer shows.
Yeah. Well,
do you think that was a symptom? Sorry if I'm jumping in. I have not experienced this. I'm just curious. Like, do you think that was a symptom of the need to keep it going, kind of thing, or just what the story kind of?
I honestly don't think that's the case, unless he was forced to make up the storyline. I think he knew of the storyline earlier, right? Like, I mean, that's the suggestion.
I guess, but probably, but like, it's.
Why don't we call it the Kool-Aid effect? It wasn't that he was forced to keep it going, but it was so popular he could basically do whatever he wanted. He started drinking his own Kool-Aid, and that's what happened. Like he just went off the wheels with all this Game of Thrones references and other stuff, like the butt funnels and.
Again, like wild conjecture here, but I think it might be that potentially, but also just like sometimes you have like the really good like starting point for a story that just really works. And you just don't have it. You just don't have it to continue. Like you just don't have the rest of the story figured out. Like I think it could just be that simple. Like he had this great idea and he just didn't know what to do next. I think that's very common, I would say.
I'm not sure what the problem is, but what the source of this issue is. But like what came out by the end, it was just. I was sort of asking like why. Why are characters doing the things that they're doing?
Also, who are characters?
The motivations.
There's so many characters, you lose track of them, and they're not worth remembering.
That as well. Well, that as well, but I just don't care about most of these characters. I just ignore them. Like the ones that I actually originally cared about, they don't behave like characters I knew anymore.
Yes.
I don't know who Mikasa is by the end of the story.
Yeah.
Other than she should have said "I love you" to Eren, I guess, to prevent him committing genocide.
Well, it seems to suggest that Eren, for some reason, had seen the future, and then like the alternatives were worse, or something like that. Like I don't know if I'm just misunderstanding the translation or what happened, but it was just not properly explained. I don't have the interest in watching the anime to see what happens, so it's just it lost the last great arc. I don't remember if this was after the reveal or before, was when they were fighting the monkey guy at the wall, and then they did the charge. That was like the last hurrah.
Zeke.
Yeah, that was the last.
Speaking
hurrah.
of another character's motivation, I do not understand. I don't know what the hell Zeke was about.
Right.
He had plans. He certainly had some plans. He's like the Cylons from Battlestar Galactica. They always say they have plans. Turns out those plans suck.
But it's a sad ending for this year. I mean, we talked about this in the last couple anime manga episodes, but the fall of Attack on Titan. But it was the one that was supposed to be like one of the promised one or something, and it failed. Like the
the Game of Thrones of anime is what you're saying.
Well, it
is.
It was carrying the torch from previous type of shonen series, and it just dropped it and did not end well. So, I mean.
Plus, I think a lot of the manga readers are disappointed with the ending. I have yet to see what the anime people who only watch the anime think.
And it was the manga that was driving. I mean, it was the manga and all the theories and all the theorizing. That's why it was related to Game of Thrones. That's why a lot of people liked both. It was just the theorizing and stuff. But then it just So we'll see what happens with. I don't even know how they fit all of this in anime. If they get another season, I just don't know how they do it. But
I haven't been watching the anime. I'm not motivated to watch any more Attack on Titan. Or consume any other Attack on Titan media.
Yeah.
I heard the anime is doing it better. Because another issue is Isayama is a very messy writer. Right? I think we all agree on that. He's not. The anime made his manga a lot better from the very beginning in the first season.
They're able to edit it down and do what they need to organize and point out things.
So we have a reverse Game of Thrones situation, where the adaptation is actually much, much better and better remembered.
Well, until we get to the end, I mean, there's only so much they can do to salvage it. If they get to the end, I mean, is it guaranteed that they actually get to the end, or they could just stop? Like that, all the animes go to the end.
They switched studios.
Oh, so it's not the one that does Vinland Saga.
No.
Okay.
They didn't get the shitty one that did One Punch Man season 2, did they? Like it?
They got the. I'm pretty sure they got the One Punch Man studio. No.
Oh, they got the actual like the good
one.
No,
not well. They got the people who split out from Madhouse.
Oh,
I guess. Sort of got the One Punch. The former One Punch.
Do we have any news on One Punch? I mean, let's move on. I think Attack on Titans can be left in the ruins that it is, but One Punch Man season 3. Is there any news on that? Let's see. Is anyone actually working?
Zero.
I'll ask from your perspective as someone who reads the webcomic and the manga, is there enough material definitely to make another?
Oh, for sure. I mean, and so One Punch is doing, and I'll talk about both without getting into spoilers, but essentially the webcomic is way, way ahead, but I still enjoy it. I still enjoy everything I read in the webcomic. It's doing interesting stuff, and I'm always thinking well, this will be fun to see in both manga and anime form because the webcomic graphically is not as good, although he's quite improved his skills, I mean, in terms of drawing and stuff, but he's always been primarily more of the story guy, right? So I'm enjoying what's happening in the webcomic. Interesting stuff is happening, and in the manga, they essentially just broaden it out a little bit more. They go into the world building, or they just enjoy it. They relish in it, and yes, I know they're making lots of money out of it, but it's also just fun. I enjoy this world. I like seeing like the backstory and just the extra scenes and the fights and everything with the manga, and the material is there for the anime. It's just like, and given that the manga is doing so well, why is the anime not they're able to put it there properly? Because they could be popular. They could have it out there, and there's a lot of good stuff to see. They just they botched a lot of scenes in season 2 that could have been. The music, the anime just didn't fit. They lost it, but there's still plenty of good stuff in season 3. By the way, I'll mention one funny scene. I just was reading in the manga recently. I mean, it doesn't really spoil anything, but it shows Bang. You know, Bang number 3, the old guy. It shows like when he was younger. It flashbacks to when he was younger, and he was like this badass punk and stuff. And he's like surrounded by like this harem. You're like, this is Bang. It's just hilarious to see that side of him before he like became more stoic and stuff. So these are things that were not in the webcomic and just were fleshed out more. But because one is working with the mangaka drawing the webcomic, it has his blessing. Like he's helping, and wherever he goes in there, it has his approval, right? It's not just done by Murata, so the artist for the manga. So it's almost like a second pass through where he can flesh out the story. Like it certainly has padding, but I enjoy it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I enjoy the world. I enjoy seeing it, but the material is there for the anime. I'll wait for the anime to see when I see it, but it's good stuff. I don't know, Zach, are you just waiting for the anime? I guess is the way you've been handling One Punch.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think I was definitely a little soured on it, I would say, with the second season, but I think it was just the animation studio, right? They kind of dropped the ball. So like if they can sort that out, it would be nice.
We'll have to see what happens there. Is there a point where they just give up and not do it? It becomes too late to do it?
I feel like I can never figure out why the people who make these things make their decisions. You guys, like Bill and Bing, probably know way better. Like why the politics of it all.
No.
Okay, it's a black box. Nobody knows what happens.
Understanding how animation studios make their decisions.
It's a different country, a different culture, a different language, and like different market. And we're just here like getting the byproducts of the translation, right? Or the stuff. Like it's just hard to see what they do over there. Unfortunately, it hasn't gone to our benefit in terms of One Punch Man. Have you, Bill or Bing? You guys haven't been following anything on it for webcomic or manga, right?
No, I have not.
Not really. I've been falling way behind on One Punch Man. But I've been falling behind a lot of other things too. So it's not a.
Well, if they ever get the anime out, we'll watch it and discuss it. That's what we'll do for that. Other stuff I wanted to ask about was Bill. So I think one of the last episodes we were talking about Nagatoro-san, the manga. I'm a little bit behind on that one. I was behind in general, but the anime came out. I didn't see it. Is it finished like the first season, or is it still playing? Like what was the experience with it?
Yeah, they finished the first season, and I think there's a second one on the way. Check my list here. I don't know where it is on my list, but yeah, I think there's a second season on the way, and they had. I mean, when you started reading the manga, it was pretty harsh the way she would treat him, right?
Mm.
Yeah, I think they toned that down a bit more for the anime. Like in episode 1, you could already tell that they were softening it a bit. Probably because they didn't want
to be done. I mean, that was the one problem with the manga, was it started out too harsh. Like it was like he hadn't transitioned yet to a more nice writer. He was still like his old creepy self, right? Like the writer had written a lot more extreme stuff, right? I think he was transitioning.
I think that's right. Yeah, I mean, I remember long before the manga began, just seeing like still shots, just like Nagatoro sitting it was like a first person thing. She was sitting on the other side from the viewer at a picnic table, just saying mean things to you. That was sort of like the not quite a one shot of it. But that was like the genesis of it. And then they expanded into more of a story, and over time it gained more characters. And I think, like I said, last episode, it turned more into, what's that other manga? I'm not popular, so that I'll do something.
Watamote, kind of?
Watamote, that's the one. Yeah. So, I mean, that's really evolved into a story.
Yeah.
With like 2 dozen
cast of characters now. Are you still reading Watamote? Like I've been reading as well. I feel it's arcing till the end now.
I just kind of gave up because I'm just lost. There's too many people.
Yeah.
So I gave up on that one. Yeah.
Too much characterization at that point.
Yeah. I'm still reading Nagatoro, and they've kept the cast small. There's maybe not even 10 characters I can think of, and so that helps make it easier. And I mean, it's almost like they're dating now.
Yeah.
So she still needles him about like the expressions he makes or the clothes he wears, but you can tell that there's some affection in there.
So it's good. So you say the anime was worth watching then, like in terms of manga fans
yes.
or in general.
Yes, absolutely. I'd say, in fact, if you like the anime, read the manga, not the other way around.
Yeah, I think it's better because then you don't deal with the issue of them like jumping into manga and have those first few chapters where it was very hard to read.
Where it's just like, oh, I don't want to read any more of this. It's just painful to read.
Touching about one you said in Watamote, I think that one can benefit a lot from a second season of the anime to again cut down a bit and just there's a lot of funny content. Like the creator of Watamote is funny. She has got a lot of jokes, a lot of stuff in there. She kind of like got too many characters, but I think the content is there if they ever did a second season to play with that.
And if they do a second season of that, they should maybe stop it before it gets out of hand.
Yeah. They can drop some parts and just accelerate and just get to the funny parts, but that one you can see it is arcing. They're almost done. I suspect it'll be done within a year or two. Like it's finally getting to the end of the high school.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, they may have already graduated from high school. I don't remember quite exactly.
All right, so that's it for Watamote and Nagatoro-san. Now we're getting near the end of our list here. I don't know. Bing, do you want to talk about something, or Zach? Right at this point, you wanted to give a quick summary of some of the stuff you've been watching.
Zach, you can go.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm not enough of an anime fan that I like keep up with seasonal content. If something gets popular, or looks interesting, or is recommended to me, I'll check it out when it's airing. But otherwise, I just kind of go back into the well of already known done things. I guess like I'll just quickly mention like Kuroko no Basket I watched. For context, I love basketball. Like I really love just the sport itself. So it was obviously a good fit. And I don't know, like obviously this show is absurd, right? Like the show,
it's basically basketball players with each have like superpowers.
Yeah, they're entirely unrealistic, but it's fun, right?
It's entertaining. Like it is a fun sports anime.
Yeah, I think like it's probably like the best like hype moments I've personally seen in a little while. Like probably I don't know, since like Demon Slayer season 1, like that, that one really good episode. Like like that's the last thing that like got me like that on that emotional high, which is definitely like for that kind of
this anime. Is basketball they're talking about.
Right.
It's not like
I don't know how they did it, but there's some moments that are like, oh my god. But I know like if I really want like a grounded basketball manga anime thing, I should probably check out Slam Dunk, which I would like to do at some point. I really have heard good things about that creator in general, so I would like to look into some of his stuff at some point. So you mentioned Code Geass in connection with Attack on Titan. This show is ridiculous. I mean, it's just one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Like not in like I don't know. Like for me, like I was shocked. Go ahead.
Code Geass is a meme. And once you recognize that Code Geass is a meme, then you can enjoy Code Geass.
That's a good way of describing it. I think that's really apt. And I was like shocked by like how aggressive the fan service is, which is of course like a thing in the industry, but like it was like way more than I've ever seen for like a show that's not explicitly.
But wasn't that season 2 that has more? I mean, it is there in season 1, but I think there was a gap between the seasons, which I think Bing you experienced. Like you had to wait for the next season, but like. There's certainly more of it in season 2. It's like in those couple of years, it had become even worse in terms of fan service. Like there is still a season 1.
Definitely, there's a difference.
I don't remember. It's always been pretty consistent. Season 1 had CC showering every other episode, and the next episode. So I don't know.
I will say like season 2, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say like it's fun also. Like it's another just fun show. It's got a good pace. It has like really good high and low moments. I think
Yeah.
it kind of achieves the Death Note-y like cat and mouse game thing, or like just
Right.
like the stakes and the tension of trying to disguise.
Does
Well, not on the
It
same
does.
level. I would.
It doesn't. Not everything has to be on the same level. I think it does have
It's not
it.
the same. I don't think Code Geass is a smart anime trying to be a smart anime. I think Death Note tries to be a smart anime and then succeeds for like half of it.
Falls off.
And falls off.
Death Note's
I don't think
problem,
Code Geass
without
was ever
getting
smart.
into it, is it builds up this guy so much that it was hard. It's like what happens later is just not believable as much. I don't know. It's like some of
That's the thing it has that one of the things it has that Code Geass doesn't. It doesn't have like the same level of dynamic of like the characters butting heads.
right.
But it does have, like, I don't know, it just has a good pace. It has good tension. Like there's a lot of, I don't know, just a lot of moments where you're invested in what's going to happen next. Now, I actually do like the ending, like you guys are mentioning that relative to, and I won't get into it too much, but relative to Attack on Titan, like I actually thought that worked. It's pretty simple and basic, but it worked. So
No, I did like it in Code Geass. I thought it was better done. The concept of it worked in Code Geass.
It's fine in Code Geass, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like I said, Code Geass is a meme. It never. I don't think the creators of Code Geass ever took it seriously.
Well, I don't know. That's hard to say.
I think that's a big difference.
We don't know if they did or not. I mean, maybe they didn't, but certainly the people that watched it did. Lots of
They
people
turned
that
half
watched
of
it.
their characters into memes midway through the first season. I really don't think they took itself that seriously.
Well, they had the freedom because there was
the
no
thing with the
manga
orange,
for it, right? It was original creation.
The pizza.
Oh, the Orange Boy, yeah, the Orange Boy. They certainly leaned into
Orange
memes
Boy,
that were popular.
Pizza Hut.
Yes, but people enjoyed it too. The people liked the memes. Like they liked the Orange Boy stuff, and like the arc of Orange Boy.
Yeah, that's the
a good
thing.
arc.
That's the thing. That's the thing. It didn't take itself seriously. That's why people liked it.
Yeah. I think that's a good distinction. Again, like there's a self-awareness maybe that completely changes how you feel about that kind of thing.
Now, the issue with Code Geass is, have you seen the latest movie that came out or not?
No.
So how'd that go?
Well, it's worth watching, but because there's one or two movies. It actually does the Madoka Magica thing. It has 3 movies, and 2 of them just replay what happened in seasons 1 and 2, essentially.
Right.
Except in the second movie, I think or in the third movie, like the point there's a certain character that dies and then it doesn't die in the movies, like it's kept alive. A character that dies in the show.
Yeah.
And then even the translators or like the fans translation said like, get out of here, like we made 2 movies just to bring you back to life, like you better leave this area so you don't die. It's like,
I'm actually curious about this, asking you guys about this like on a broader scale. So like I generally avoid the anime movies because of this issue. Like I avoided Madoka Magica because like I don't know, like I was happy with what it was and I just didn't want like the characters and stuff to be tainted by trying to like prolong it. And I also like, so something else I watched was Violet Evergarden, and I know that has like a couple movie things. Like I don't know, like do you guys think that I'm false and like being hesitant to watch that stuff or what?
I think it's
You're like
true to be wary in some sense, but it depends. Like, how much would it ruin your enjoyment if you're able to always say, "Well, I didn't like that movie. I'll just think it's a different universe. It doesn't bother me," and you can siphon it off, then do so. But if you're someone who would somehow, like, you wouldn't be able to siphon it off, then don't. But you seem to be someone who could siphon it off. It's hard to say, at least your own personal enjoyment, right?
Sure. I'm just like very much a person who like once I get an ending I'm happy with, I just don't want any more. So like that's the thing.
Then don't watch Madoka Magica, the third movie. But Code Geass one, I think it is worth watching. But some people said it did ruin the ending because I don't know. I don't want to spoil it. You'll have to watch it. But I think it's worth watching. I had enough enjoyment watching it. Like if you take it from the grain of salt,
sure.
I don't go as far as I think. In my view, I mean, everyone has their own view. Bing is being excessively harsh on the show, given the when it came out compared to now. Right?
I don't think I'm very harsh on the show. I like the show.
Well, you
a
still
lot
enjoy
more
it,
than,
Okay.
I like the show a lot more than most other shows I've talked about in this podcast right now.
Yeah. Don't put it to such a high standard. Just think, I like these characters. I want to have another fun couple hours with them, and then I think you could enjoy the third movie. But it'd be interesting to see what you think of it. We can discuss it then. Give people a chance to watch it if they want.
Yeah, may do.
Just to watch the European like OVAs or whatever. There's like Code Geass in Europe or something. Like that was just a huge waste of time. Like it was not good.
It's probably like for me, like in general, I take anime on recommendation. I think it's the same thing maybe with the movies where like I don't know, someone can tell me if it's worth my time or not.
The first two are not, because just as a recap, it's basically the same thing. Except they just save a certain character from dying, and then the rest is like, well, but the third one is new content. So.
Yeah, I mean that. So I guess I could tie this into. I also watched. This is one of the most recent things I watched. I watched Neon Genesis Evangelion. You may have heard of that show.
I have, although I haven't even bothered to watch that yet. I need to watch that myself. But did you find it worth watching?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and it's an interesting one relative to this because I think you have to watch its movie for it to work. And now, like, I'm curious if anyone has watched these. So they've been doing these like more movies the past few years, and the last one came out this year actually. So did any of you watch that? Like, what was your, if so, impression of that? If you did, no one. Okay.
Well, I've seen the first three of those four movies.
Okay. You haven't seen the last one?
No, I haven't seen the last one yet.
I haven't either.
Did you enjoy those movies?
What did you think of that project?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed them. I mean, this was a series I originally watched on VHS.
Oh.
It was like the first real mind bender I ever watched. You know, you do kind of have to watch End of Evangelion to Evangelion. Same thing.
Yeah,
you have to watch the entire, like, how many is the anime very long?
Reflex.
I mean, the anime
is really, it's 26 episodes.
Yeah, it's 26.
Just 26 episodes? Okay, then that's not as long as I thought. Then you watch that, and then you go on to the movies, essentially, after that.
So the only thing I'll say about...
And then the remakes.
Right, yeah. I haven't done the remakes yet. Bill, so you would say that they're worth doing?
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I would say skip the original and just go to the remakes, but I mean the originals. I wouldn't say so. Yeah, there's a lot of good classic anime stuff in there, you know, for a series that has been so. I mean, like we were talking about Berserk, you know, how that's been so influential. This is also another influential anime series that you really have to see.
Yeah, so
it's the anime. It was the anime.
Right.
Yeah.
In the 90s, there was no other anime. It was just Evangelion.
It was a Demon Slayer of its time.
Demon Slayer made money. Evangelion bankrupted
the company.
Right.
But it was iconic anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So the only thing I'll say about it without spoiling anything is I think, for one, like, I generally like the older style of animation more than new stuff. Like, first, I like new stuff, but there's something about the old style that, like, I don't know, it just like grounds me more, and I think it really works with Evangelion. And I think just in general, like, the show just has like a really good, to me, like, kind of directorial flair to it. Like, I don't know, I really feel like the scenes are staged in an interesting way, which I don't always get with all anime. And I think in some ways, like, I think, and this is complained about, I think, by some fans of it, like, I think some of, like, the budget issues actually add to it to me. Like, so, like, there's, like, an infamous elevator scene. There's an infamous elevator scene that people hate. I'd love it. Like, I think it works perfectly the way it is. So like, in some ways, like, I'm a believer of the idea of, like, art from adversity and, like, having to work around limitations and constraints. So I think that is the case here, and I think it's something that actually augments the quality of it.
What's the studio that made it?
Gainax.
Well, so the studio that made His and Her Circumstances, right?
Yes, it is.
The anime, and
it's the same. It's the same director too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. They both ran the money.
Hideaki.
Yeah.
That's one you should check out sometime, Zach. His or Her Circumstances, because we actually did a full review, a very lengthy review of that on this podcast. If you ever check out the anime.
How many years was that ago?
Oh, that was one of the earlier World Cups, I think, was probably at the time we're talking about. You're looking at your soccer ball here. That was probably
God.
Just to summarize that one very quickly, His and Her Circumstances, what's interesting about that one is a lot of romantic anime, like, they spend, like, forever getting the people together, right? If ever. And in that one, they get it together basically right away, like the first episode or two, so it's more like, okay, let's see the relationship. that's why it was interesting for its time. And also then you had some conflicting views of the mangaka and the director, and kind of see like the show kind of like switches between more serious and comedic. The director wanted to be comedic and mangaka serious, I think. So that was an interesting. Maybe if you do check it out, Zach, or just telling in general for our listeners. Yeah.
I'm writing it down. I'm intrigued.
According to my notes, we did that episode in 2015.
Okay, not that far back, but still far back. Still.
Yeah.
Feels like a long time ago. Speaking of old stuff, like last thing I'll say is,
sure.
I watched a bunch of Ghibli stuff. The only thing I'll say is that I was surprised to find that Kiki's delivery service was actually my favorite. And I think it's just because the theme of that just resonated with me personally. Like, I think that's the extent of it.
Well, good. I like the artwork and the location. Yeah, Kiki's. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I think
Kiki's always one of the better ones.
Okay. So maybe that's not that weird.
They made.
Yeah, I think like
people have different,
different tastes. Yeah, I think the location, the setting is cool, but also just to say it like generally, like it speaks to kind of the idea of like being kind of lost in like what your purpose is in life, basically. I don't know. I just thought the theme really worked, and it was just a good movie.
If you like Kiki's, I recommend Whisper of the Heart as well.
Okay, I will.
It's a lot less. There's a lot less fantasy, but it's sort of similar things.
Oh yeah, that's good. Whisper of the Heart was good as well. Yeah, I think that. I mean, you can't really go wrong with Ghibli to the extent. I mean, some of them are not great, but they're still okay. I guess there's the one that was Eversea or something. That I still have found I found it funny. If you watch that, I just want to laugh. It was still a funny thing. It wasn't very good though. That was by Miyazaki's son, I think, right? He like threw his son under the bus.
Yeah. Add to the anime news corner earlier. Miyazaki back at it again. Man does not know what retirement means.
Oh yeah, he's making. When is it coming out? You're right. He's making another movie, right?
Who knows when it's coming out? He is making another movie. Because
I thought he said that anime was a mistake, though.
He says many things, including the fact that he said he retired 5 times by this point.
At the age of 80, he's coming in retirement for another movie. Wait, was Whisper of the Heart's creator passed away? I think, right? Or the guy that made.
Yeah, the director died very soon after.
And he was meant to be Miyazaki's successor, kind of. I think he was being like built up to be, and then he passed away.
It's one of those. Yeah. But the studio is now sort of like a. It's like the pyramid. It encloses itself when Miyazaki becomes a mummy, and then it reopens itself when Miyazaki reanimates and becomes a walking mummy. All right,
there's good movies. You got to go to the older ones. Like some of the older ones were really good. I'm trying to think of like the one where the girl's like on the little flying thing, not Kiki's, but like the actual like
Nausicaa.
Castle in the Sky.
Yeah, Castle.
Yeah.
No, those 2 different movies, right? Nausicaa, but they're both good.
Yeah, Nausicaa.
I watched both of those.
Yeah,
sorry.
Nausicaa is great.
Yeah.
Read the manga if you could. That's one of the few mangas you made. Yeah.
Let me go back to your list here, Zach. I think you pretty much covered it, like at least everything that I'm familiar with.
Yeah. I don't know, Bill. Did you want to talk about the Star Wars thing?
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead and do that. Star Wars Visions.
Is that anime?
Yeah, it is.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's it's a 9-episode anime anthology, which is on Disney Plus, and so each episode is its own separate little story. So there's no overarching story here. And that was first I heard about it was this past summer. All these episodes came out in September. And I got real excited when I saw that, Studio Trigger was going to be involved in it because, like, immediately the first thing that came to my head was Kill la Kill, merging that with anime. And they kind of did it, but they kind of didn't do it as much as I wanted them to do it.
I will say that one I think should have probably or rather, the story couldn't fit into an anthology. Like it had to have more to be fleshed out, which is the case for a lot of them. I mean, of course with this thing, like there's huge variance in quality with this kind of project, And I think for a lot of them, they just didn't really have time to kind of establish what they were going to be. And I think that one was the one I would point out is like I would actually be interested in seeing more of that. But there were a couple that I really liked just in isolation of this. I liked the Village Bride episode. Although again, I think they didn't quite like fully establish what it was, but that one was good. I also like the Ninth Jedi episode. I think.
I love the Ninth Jedi. Yes.
I think that was just the best, like as a product, like by itself. I think I would say like that one. So yeah, it was a fun little project. For me, like Star Wars, Star Wars is in such a weird place as a thing right now. Like what is Star Wars? What is it going to be? And I think like for me, I generally like it when it just goes in these weirder directions, like these unexpected directions, relative to like the main line of just trying to like copy the same story over and over, basically. So, I like the weird stuff, and I think this was a good, fun project.
Yeah, some of them kind of felt like they didn't need to be Star Wars. Like the last one that ended with. Did that need to be Star Wars? It was like this political thing where the guy meets up with his princess, and oh no, there's a traitor in the royal family, and we have to, but it's the guy's a Jedi and the traitor is a Sith, and it's, does that need to be a Star Wars story? I guess
that just like leads me into a path of like total like uncertainty, because like what is Star Wars? Like what is Star Wars?
Yeah,
it's hard to figure out, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Well, good. That's good to get that review there. Too bad we don't have Kyle on, because I think he said he was watching that, or he was going to check that out.
Well, I think it was Kyle who retweeted the tweet I saw that first let me know it exists. And he was. I made some comments about how, oh boy, I'm excited to see what Trigger does with it, and he was like, I don't know what Trigger is or anything. I just want to watch Star Wars.
Yeah, we'll have to see at some point what he thought of it. That's pretty much it. Other than I'll just make a quick mention of a manga I've mentioned before. Gekkan Shoujo Muzaki-kun is still producing manga, and I'm still reading it. I'm still enjoying it. It's basically the one where a lot of the characters are gender swapped. Like the creator is male, but he like writes like a manga that's like romantic and stuff, and a lot of the characters in it kind of reflect the characters that he did. It's just a comedy, and I've been enjoying it. So that's one of the things I have a few things I regularly read when I get caught up. Like I don't read them for months, and I'm like, okay, let me read a bunch of chapters now. And that's one of the ones I do. And I started that one with the anime actually. There's a season 1 of the anime. It was enjoyable, and then I went to the manga. And that's it. That's all I got to cover. So unless anyone else have anything, or I think we covered it.
Well, there is a past anime that this podcast covered. Demon King is a part-timer.
Oh yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, that's getting a new season of anime.
Oh, is it?
Yes, 9 years later.
The Devil is a part-timer, or Demon King is.
Yeah. Yes, Devil is a part-timer. Yeah.
Yes.
So I've watched this, but I've heard like the manga people hate the ending. So like, how's this gonna go? I guess is the question.
Well, I haven't finished to the end of the manga yet. I don't know, or maybe I think they were doing light novels. Do you think it was the manga or the light novels? Do you think the manga's actually made it to the ending?
I'm not sure. I just know like people soured on it.
It was probably the light novels, and then I think they're adapting it to manga. The problem is, so you've seen season 1 then, right? Like that was one of our first BOK episodes. If anyone's
it was.
They should go. They should see season 1 and go watch that, and come back because season 1 is what makes the anime so great is just the absurdness of what's happening in our world with these magical guys, right? Essentially, like guys from that world, like to our world. And the problem with the manga story is it seems to more focus back on that other world. Well, I don't care about that other world. That's just like a C-rate like fantasy world. Like I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the characters in this world. What happens, right? So if it goes back to the other world, it's just not good. So we'll have to see, do they do that, or is there enough content in this world? And I don't think there is, at least in the manga, enough. I don't know if the light novels have it, like content in this world. It's just too tied to the other one. So I'll watch it. Let's see what happens. But I think it could be a disappointment, unfortunately, with the unless they realize that that's not what made it popular, and they
just completely do something different.
Yeah, they just stick to this. But that's pretty late too. For was that 2013 or something?
Yeah, 2013.
Yeah, and yet it gets a second season now.
Yeah, it's getting a second season probably next spring, probably in April. They're going to announce details in about 2 weeks.
Maybe that gives hope for Watamote to have a season 2. You should check that out, Zach. The Watamote episode, at least, because that was actually pretty good. We had Ashley on, and she was talking about because it deals with social anxiety and that kind of stuff, and she talked about it. I thought that was a pretty good episode.
No, I'd love to check that out. Actually, I remember you guys talking about that, and it definitely intrigued me. One other question I had relative to that. So I think I didn't mention this last time. I saw the movie A Silent Voice. I think you guys did the manga, right? Would you recommend that? After having seen the movie?
Yes.
Okay. I like the movie.
We started with the manga first, actually. That was one of the ones where we read the manga first, and then the movie came out. That was that nice experience of reading it. Hey, this thing is actually being adapted. Yeah, I would. I think the manga's way better than the movie, because the movie they had to jam everything into one movie.
Right.
I was thinking that, right? I think the story kind of functions better, possibly more extended out. So
yeah, manga.
I actually think it's just the tone is very different from the movie to the manga.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It's a different experience, and some people say they love the movie. I prefer the manga, but
okay, I might check that out as well. Cool.
And actually, on topic about social anxiety, there's a series airing on Netflix right now called Komi Can't Communicate, which is an adaptation of a popular manga about this beautiful teenage girl who is just she can't talk to people. She's just terrified. Anyone tries to speak to her, she just sits there and just shivers. And so that's a story about how she slowly comes out of her shell.
Yeah, and if you see that line, if you see Watamote, you also see the anime as well. I think the anime is just easier. Is it the same thing you say for that one? Is the anime is easier than the manga to get into?
Well, I mean, I've noticed some strange translation decisions on Netflix. So they're trying to localize some very Japanese concepts into, so I can spot here and there where jokes maybe aren't the same. But I mean, it's real good. It's mostly comedy focused.
Well, it was great. Unless anyone has anything else to say, I'm going to wrap us up. Are we done?
That's it for me.
Yeah. And it's getting late for you guys in Eastern time here. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. That was good to have our at least annual anime manga review. I think we covered a lot of content, but a lot of it had to be said. I think it was fun to kind of hash it out with these things and disagree, agree on stuff, and just get it out there and see if there's anyone listening, at least in Discord. Down in the forums.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, let's come back in the summer maybe and do another one. See where we're
I guess one final thing.
Yeah.
One final thing I will say. There was an ice hockey anime, considering there are Canadians on this podcast.
Oh, really?
Yes, the ice hockey. Yes.
I watched one episode. Doesn't matter. I watched one episode. The ice hockey team beat Canada. The Japanese,
a bunch of Japanese girls beat Canada.
Is it like Kuroko no basket level?
And then they performed an idol song on ice.
Oh, okay.
Which is the less fantastical part about them beating Canada.
Okay, then.
And
I stopped watching after one episode because I cannot take this thing seriously.
Yeah.
Okay.
They picked the wrong country.
Yeah. Well, I am watching that one. Puro Ore, Pride of Orange.
Have they since been Soviet Union as well?
Well, no. I mean,
the dream team of the Soviet Union.
I'm not sure where they came up with this whole "they're the national team" idea, because that's not the plot at all. Maybe that's some kind of weird fever dream someone was having. But I mean,
the Gretzky Oilers.
I mean,
dumped the Montreal Canadiens.
It's a bunch of high school girls playing rec league hockey. That's what it's about, and the relationships they have. I'm not totally sure where the whole national team angle that they showed fits in. Maybe that's the far future for these girls. But I mean, this series does feel like it's a lead-in to the Winter Olympics in 3 months. Yeah.
It's so weird that that's happening right after the summer.
But they do keep referencing this victory song and dance they're going to do. That's sort of this haha joke that they stick in there. But they've already won a game against another rec league hockey team, and they didn't do their song and dance. So what was the point of even putting that in the premise of the show?
They want to show up Canada.
I guess so. Yeah.
This is their version of whacking a shoe, beating up a fan with a shoe. Which, I'm sorry, if the second episode does not feature two of those players going up to the stands and beating up a fan with their own shoe, then I'm not watching this anime.
Well, at least in I think in the Mighty Ducks movies, they have one when they go international. Their enemy is Iceland or something. They don't even try to go against Canada, and I think Iceland loses to Canada at some point too. It's like, okay, yeah, that's reasonable.
That would, yes.
I think I'll stick to Yuri on Ice.
Yeah,
right.
That's a pretty good anime.
Yeah, it is.
If you want to see another anime that has skating, but not, no, the main character did skating at some point, and there's a bit of it, but actually it's a very small fraction. I just came to mind. It's called Death Parade. You guys ever seen Death Parade? There's a bit of ice skating in it, but
I've heard the name.
I did not watch that one. No.
Yeah.
I watched a few episodes. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen March Comes In Like a Lion?
Yes.
Do you recommend it?
So you like
Yes, I do.
Okay. So I know.
Nearby.
Yeah, I plan on it. I love sad stuff, but also I know it's not really this, but my dream in general is a chess anime. Like I would love like a full blown like chess shonen.
Oh.
I think you might like Hikaru no Go.
Okay.
Oh,
it's not chess, but it's
I know the deal. Yeah. I know. For March Comes In Like a Lion, it's not really the focus, but I just love that as a premise. Like I don't know why.
Well, let's do as a wrapping up. Actually, I'm just looking because we talked about before the experience of seeing anime in theaters is always interesting, and like it's going on and off with availability to see it. But I'm just looking because I'm looking on Cineplex right now just to see what's coming up, and there's three in here. There's the perennial Ghibli. They have My Neighbor Totoro being shown again, so it's a classic being shown again. But Sword Art Online, whatever the newest movie is, and I don't know what it is. I don't care. Like Sword Art Online, I'll summarize in like 10 seconds. Like it started okay, and then it became ridiculous. Like you think once they got out of this thing, they would never ever touch a piece of computer again. But no, let's just go have another world or whatever. Like, it's just stupid. Like it's not unless it's supposed to be like a play to show how like this stuff is an addiction. But I don't think it's smart enough to be that. So it's not. That's all I'll say about that one. But then there's another one called Bell, which is supposed to be really good, like at least the music as well, or animation. I haven't seen it, but have you heard of that one? Like it seems to have a high rating, coming out in 2022.
What's it called?
Belle, Belle. I think it's an IMAX too, actually.
Oh, wow! It is not on my anime list.
Interesting.
Oh, is that it there?
Wait, who's this director?
Nope, that's really old.
Mamoru Hosoda.
Hosoda.
He did Wolf Children, I think.
Mamoru Hosoda. He did Wolf Children, Summer Wars, Girl Who Lived Through Time.
Oh, I watched that. I like that.
Yeah, this is his latest movie. I think I like his movies less and less over time.
But there's a movie experience of seeing it though, right? Like going to see something like this with a good animation and music, and where everyone else in there is interested to see anime too, or see the movie. So I'm saying that may be of interest. We'll see. It's coming up to 2022, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. That was good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Check us out.
See you next year.
Yeah, exactly. Ambassadorskingsgrave.com, WordPress.com, or just Ambassadors of Kingsgrave. We got a Facebook group as well, and we're just the podcast advice and fire generally. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.